Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First thing first, let me introduce myself. My name is Mardewi from Class A English Education, Batch 2022. Today I'm going to explain a topic which is about cooperation and implicature, and I already started to finish my final test for Mr. Ridwan as my lecturer in Semantics and Pragmatics course. Okay, to shorten the time, let's get started. So, what is cooperation in conversation? Cooperation can be understood as an essential factor when speakers and listeners are interacting. In other words, it is the expectation that the listener has towards the speaker. The speaker is supposed to convey true statements and say nothing more than what is required. For example, let's see. Speaker A, do you know what time it is now? Speaker B, it's 3 p.m. In this conversation, Speaker B responds relevantly, clearly, and informatively according to the need. This shows cooperation between two speakers based on Grace's cooperative principle, where actually I will explain it clearly in the other next slides. Next, what is implicature in conversation? Implicature can be considered as an additional conveyed meaning. It is attained when a speaker intends to communicate more than just what the words mean. It is the speaker who communicates something via implicatures, and the listener recognizes those communicated meanings via inference. Okay, let's see the example of implicature. Speaker A, oh, it's so hot today. Speaker B, there is iced tea in the fridge. Feel free to grab some if you'd like. So the implicature in this conversation arises from the speaker B's response. Literally, speaker A is only stating that the weather is hot, but speaker B interprets the implied meaning that speaker A may need something to cool down, and this offers iced tea. This additional meaning is not explicitly stated but understood through implicature. Next, let's talk about cooperative principle. Cooperative principles refer to a concept introduced by philosopher H. Paul Grace, which assumes that participants in a conversation aim to cooperate with one another to facilitate effective communication. The principle is based on the idea that dialogue involves mutual understanding and contribution toward a common goal or direction. Grace articulated this principle through 4 maxims which guide conversational interactions. So, here are the 4 maxims of cooperative principle. The first one is maxim of quantity. Here, you need to provide the amount of information necessary for the current purpose of the exchange, and you avoid giving more or less information than required. The second one is maxim of quantity. Here, you strive to provide truthful information, avoid saying what you believe to be false or what you lack sufficient evidence for. The third one is maxim of relation, or we can say relevance. Here, ensure your contribution are relevant to the topic of the conversation. The fourth one is maxim of manner. Here, you need to be clear, concise, and orderly in your communication. Avoid ambiguity and unnecessary complexity. For example, man, does your dog bite? Woman, no, the man reaches down to pat the dog. The dog bites the man's hands. Man, ouch. Hey, you said your dog doesn't bite. Woman, he doesn't, but that's not my dog. Asking that question, the man assumes that the dog belongs to the woman. The woman's answer provides less information than expected. The maxim of quantity is floated. Is the woman willing to talk with the man? If your answer is no, you have rightly figured out the implicature. Different from this example, Speaker A, do you know where the nearest gas station is? Speaker B, yes, it's just around the corner on Main Street. Based on the example, the quantity, quality, relation, and manner can be conveyed clearly so that it can fulfill the cooperation principles. But if one of the cooperative maxim is violated, the implicature is often generated. So next, we talk about hedges. Hedges are words or phrases used in communication to introduce ambiguity, probability, caution, or uncertainty. Hedges often serve to make statements less direct or assertive, softening the tone to avoid harshness or to express politeness. They can also downplay the speaker's certainty about the information being communicated or to reduce the impact of an utterance. For example, as far as I know, they are getting married. He couldn't live without her, I guess. Next slide, we talk about conversational implicature. This topic is actually the part of implicature that I have explained before, and next explanation would be followed by conventional implicature. But let's focus on conversational implicature first. Conversational implicature refers to the additional meaning conveyed by a speaker that goes beyond the literal meaning of the words used. This concept was introduced by H. Paul Grace and is based on the assumption that participants in a conversation adhere to the cooperative principle and its maxim like quantity, quality, relation, and manner. For example, wife, I hope you brought the bread and the cheese. Husband, I brought the bread. In this case, the husband didn't mention the cheese. Then he must intend that the wife infers what is not mentioned wasn't brought. The husband has conveyed more than he has said via a conversational implicature. Through this example, it is possible to perceive that there is no special background knowledge required in the context to calculate the additional conveyed meaning. Thus, it's called a generalized conversational implicature. Next, talk about scalar implicatures. Scalar implicatures occur when certain information is communicated by choosing a word which expresses one value from a scale of values from the highest to the lowest, like all, most, many, some, few, always, often, and sometimes. For example, I am studying linguistics and I have completed some of the required courses. By using some of the required courses, the speaker creates an implicature, not all, but this only one of the scale. It is some. In fact, the speaker creates the implicatures, not all, not most, and not many. Next, particularized conversational implications. Particularized conversational implications occur when a conversation takes place in a very specific context in which locally recognized inferences are assumed. For example, Bert, do vegetarians eat hamburger? Ernie, do chickens have lips? In the above example, Ernie's response doesn't provide a yes or no answer. Bert must assume that Ernie's response means of course not. Next, properties of conversational implicatures. All the implicatures taken into consideration are part of what is communicated and not said. The speakers can always deny that they intended to communicate such meanings. Conversational implicatures are deniable. They can be explicitly denied or alternatively reinforced in different ways. The example below can illustrate this idea. You have won only $5, only 5. It's quite easy for a speaker to suspend the implicature only using the expression at least. You've won at least $5, or to cancel the implicature by adding further information, often following the expression in fact. You've won $5, in fact, you've won 10. Or to reinforce the implicature with additional information as in, you've won $5. That's for more than one. Last, we will continue to talk about conventional implicature that I have mentioned before. Different from conversational implicature, conventional implicatures are not based on the cooperative principle or the maxims. They don't have to occur in conversation and they don't depend on special context for their interpretation. Conventional implicatures are associated with specific words and result in additional conveyed meanings when those words are used. The English conjunction but is one of these words. They also could be yet, but, and even. For example, Mary suggested black, but I choose white. In the sentence, Mary suggested black is contrasted via the conventional implicature of but with my choosing white. Other English words such as yet also have conventional implicatures. For example, Dennis isn't here yet. In uttering this statement, the speaker produces an implicature that he expects the statement Dennis is here. The conventional implicature of yet is that the present situation is expected to be different, or perhaps the opposite, at a later time. That's all the explanation about cooperation and implicature that I can explain. As in our conclusion, understanding both of cooperation and implicature helps us to understand how implied meaning works in everyday communication. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and the last I say, wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.